Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Farzy Show, presented by Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. My name's Marc Farzetta, and we're here live at the Steven Sager Studios, as we are every morning at 6 a.m., giving you a live episode from 6 to 7 a.m. every single day. Sixers with a huge win over the Bulls. And I know some people might say, oh, how can you call it a huge win? And really say that it matters a lot when they beat the Bulls, but you can say it doesn't matter when they lose to the Heat because they had a shortened roster. Nick Vucevic wasn't playing for the Bulls. Sixers were obviously going up against a team that was a little bit undermanned without their starting center. Well, I'll tell you why. Joel Embiid last night dropped 43 points. A couple of months ago, when they faced the Chicago Bulls with Nick Vucevic in the game, you know what Joel Embiid did? He dropped 40 points in that game. He had another 40-10 night for the 76ers that night. So he would have dominated even if Nick Vucevic was playing in that game anyway. Sixers get a huge win, alone in second place right now behind the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference. So, yes, it is a huge win with their 121-106 win over the Bulls. And Joel Embiid having his 10th 40-10 game of the season, leading the NBA. God, I hope he wins the MVP. The more I think about it, though, this isn't my feeling. Joel Embiid is the MVP as far as I'm concerned, but it's about whether or not the writers will give it to him. And I just feel like they're going to err on the side of the Joker again. That's kind of not to be a wet blanket, but that's just how I feel this is going to go. We have some gambling things to get into today with Calvin Ridley. I know a lot of people wanted Calvin Ridley in Eagles midnight green for the season. That's not going to happen for at least the 2022 season because Calvin Ridley has been suspended by the NFL for for one season for gambling over a 5-day stretch where he bet on the Falcons and a whole bunch of other things and crazy 18-leg parlays and all that other stuff. We'll get into that with Calvin Ridley. We got some Flyers conversation to get into today, but we're going to start it off with this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I saw somebody yesterday put it in the chat. I forget who it was, but somebody said, well, we're going to get to 2,000 subscriptions today. And some people ask me, why don't we just do the show on YouTube? And it's because I want to be available as much as possible to people, not necessarily to just subscribe on YouTube or whatever. I just care about people watching. Like I don't look at the subs number that much on the show. But if we're gonna get into the YouTube world, in which we are in the YouTube world, then I want to just say thank you because yesterday this happened. Just wait for the magical moment on subscriber change here. Check this out. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. 2,000. There we are, ladies and gentlemen, 2,000 subscribers. Now, I don't know who number 2,000 was, but we're up to 2,001 now. So that's exciting. Yeah, why not one more time? Yeah, go ahead. We're up to 2001 last I checked. So that's fun. I appreciate you guys and all the people subbing on this fine platform. It is greatly enjoyable. And it's just numbers. You know, you just look at it and you go, oh, that's more than it was yesterday. That's better. That's kind of what I'll do. But to get to that but to get to that number is obviously a big deal. So thank you very much for the less than 2 years this show's been on. A little over a year, as a matter of fact. So appreciate you guys subbing here on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. If you have a friend that wants to subscribe, hey, tell them to subscribe. But yeah, thanks to everyone that helped us get to that number. We greatly appreciate it. All of us here at the Farzy Show. We'll be doing our chat check, obviously, a little bit later in the show, but I want to react to this one thing right here with the 76ers because this kind of dawned on me last night. And we'll get into the Ben Simmons fiasco coming up in just a minute. But I was watching last night's basketball game, and what really hit me was how James Harden just controls the floor. And it seems like on any given night, he blesses somebody with the ability to play well beyond their means and how we have really seen them play throughout their career so far as a 76er. And the two people I'm talking about mostly, now we've talked about Tyrese Maxey, but the two people I'm talking about right now, one is George Niang, the other is Matisse Thybulle. I have watched George Niang now have 3 separate 4+ three-pointer nights. Like, I was trying to find a way to tweet this out last night where it made sense, and I just couldn't put it in writing where I go, oh, that's the point I'm trying to convey. So now as I talk to you, I think I can convey the point better. With James Harden on the floor, George Niang is flourishing in the spacing. And on top of that, he is flourishing in the tutelage and the guidance and the encouragement of James Harden. James Harden is telling him, you're a shooter. Just keep popping threes left and right. They're going to go in. That's the thing. You hit a couple of these every night, you're going to put us in a good spot, especially with the minutes that you're getting off the bench. Just come in here, be a valuable asset. And the way you can do that is by doing what you do best, which is standing on the three-point line and knocking down shots for us. James Harden has created that spacing by driving to the basket, having guys collapse on him, kicking it out, or just simply running off a pick and roll. Two guys try to converge on him to double team him. George Niang's open in the corner, bang, three. Like, that's how it has helped a guy like George Niang. And George Niang is now flourishing in this offense with James Harden running as your point guard or as a guy to play off ball that defenders always have to be aware of, because he can either shoot from that spot or he can dribble, drive, penetrate, and get you 2 points that way and a foul and go to the line for another 3-point play. So what I watched last night was George Niang continue to go to that next level with his game, to play in his comfort zone with James Harden here, which is where he is so unbelievable, really. When you talk about how many 4+ 3-point, 4 last night, he's had 5 the other night. This guy has just been able to play off the charts and get to the spot that we really want him to be at for as long as James Harden's here in Philadelphia. The other thing is Matisse Thybulle. We could go and talk about Tyrese Maxey as we have many times over. But Matisse Thybulle last night was the best I had ever seen him play on the offensive side of the floor. Now, he had a 15-point night earlier in the season. We played the clip. It was on the West Coast. He's talking to Lauren Rosen from Sixers.com. And she's like, Matisse, you had 15 points last night. He's like, no way, really? Like, he was like giddy that he had 15 points. But it's not about that number. It's about the way he played on offense. And this is the reason, more so than anything else, that I wanted Matisse Thybulle in the starting 5 and not Danny Green. Now, I know some people were banging the Danny Green drum. Oh, you need another shooter out there on the floor. And he's close enough to Matisse, defensively speaking, you could justify him being out there because he could shoot so well, and he's shooting 10 points better from three-point land than Matisse Thybulle is, and you could justify it. No. I always want the best starting 5 out there. The best 5 is who I want in the starting 5. And Matisse Thybulle is a better basketball player than Danny Green. Oh, what about the offensive side? Well, the offensive side, yes, he's not going to hit threes on a consistent basis like Danny Green has done throughout his career, but he is going to be a bigger offensive threat. And why did I say that? Because of what we saw yesterday. Cutting to the basket. Danny Green doesn't do what Matisse Thybulle does in terms of aggressive rim attacking. He doesn't do that. He camps out on the three-point line. But if he's not hitting his threes, he's useless to you on the offensive end of the floor. Matisse Thybulle last night was the number 1 culprit when it came to pick and roll with James Harden. Instead of doing that with a center like James Harden has done throughout his career, he did it a lot with Matisse Thybulle, and it helped Matisse Thybulle get to 12 points last night. That motion, that very basic offensive play, the first play you learn in grade school, was worked to perfection yesterday. And here we are this entire time being told about how bad a teammate James Harden is, how me-first guy James Harden is. James Harden looks around the floor before a game, it seems, and goes, this is the guy that's going to have himself a good game. We know Joel Embiid's going to go off. We know he's going to just take care of business, which he did last night with 43 points. But if I can get Matisse Thybulle going, if I can continue to have Tyrese Maxey rise as a leader on this team and a scoring threat on this team, and I can get George Niang to do what he does best off the bench, then the Sixers are going to be in a pretty good position to make a deep run in the playoffs. And they'll look to not only prove that like they did last night against the Bulls, they hopefully will continue to do that against the Nets on Thursday, when you know who comes to town and apparently will be sitting on the bench. More on that in a second. But one of the things I am just so amazing, I'm just so impressed with when it comes to James Harden is how he is the opposite of what everyone in Brooklyn tried to tell you he was. Brooklyn felt like they watched James Harden for a little over a year and then knew him even better than people in Houston. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's lazy, he's a bad teammate, he's a me-first guy. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, put him close to cheesesteaks and all that stuff and see how he does. Well, last night, after yet another 10-plus assist night for James Harden with the 76ers, you know what he did? He went out there and he ran up the stadium steps. And why did he do that? Well, let's tell him about it. I'll let him tell you about it, because it came down to conditioning. But there's a whole bunch of things that we'll get into with James Harden. But first, here he is last night talking about why he was seen running the steps at the Wells Fargo Center after the 76ers had secured a win over the Bulls.
It sounds like you might have not done a free lift before you got in here tonight. You're breathing a little heavily. That's something that you do after the game?
I was still tired from the game. No, I'm just not. No, I just ran the bleachers, actually. I just ran the stairs up in the arena, trying to get some extra conditioning and extra work in. Just making sure my body is strong and I'm back to how I normally would feel. So just the work that I put in, it doesn't change. You know what I mean? I put the work in and I live with the results. And tonight was just another day at the office for me.
What inspires you to do that after a game, to do those?
If I don't do it, then I won't be as good as I am. Simple.
Who is this guy? This isn't supposed to be James Harden. Where's the selfish guy? Where's the me first guy? Where's the lazy guy? That guy doesn't exist. That's not James Harden. That's James Harden. The guy you've seen as a member of the 76ers distribute the basketball, help out hugely on defense, by the way, and get everyone around him better, like great players are supposed to do. That's the guy the Sixers have here now. And I'll continue to go back to this. From anyone in Brooklyn, the 4 Nets fans that exist in the world that tried telling us what James Harden really was, I don't see any of that. And that might have been what he was for you in Brooklyn. But that's not what he's been for us here in Philadelphia. So, it's a short sample size. You can't really judge. Well, here's why you can invest a little bit more in it than the average, 4 or 5 games you've played with your current team. He's wanted to be here. He never wanted to be in Brooklyn. He's wanted to be in Philadelphia. If it wasn't going to work out anymore in Houston, he wanted to be in Philadelphia. He wanted to be with Daryl Morey. He wanted to be with other connections he has in the front office here in Philadelphia. And he also wanted to be with a guy like Joel Embiid. It's worked out. And I think this only continues to happen. And I've been talking to a lot of people in the media and outside the media about this team. And people are, well, they can't be this good, right? I'm like, no, they are. That's the thing. They are this good. What about the Heat? Okay, that's going to be a big test. James Harden didn't play in that game, and that's fine. He needed a little rest. Apparently, that's not going to be a thing for him going forward. Doc Rivers said it after the game last night. That's really going to be a one-time thing as long as you don't see that hamstring really start to act up. Well, he's running stadiums after the game, so I guess it's not acting up. So that's great to see. But James Harden has wanted to be in Philadelphia, and just that desire makes him want to be right. Oh, yeah, I always wanted to be in Philly. I knew it would work out. Here it is working out. And here he is making other guys around him better and also having the wherewithal to realize that the other guy, the other scorer on this team, who happens to be the leading scorer in the NBA, Joel Embiid, James Harden has the wherewithal to look at Joel Embiid and go, tonight's his night. I can see he's got it going tonight. I'm going to just be the guy to set him up. And that's what he did. Need a 3 from me? Bang, here's a step-back 3 that the roof just blew off the Wells Fargo Center yesterday when he hit that step-back 3. But everything else is going to be centered around Joel Embiid and him carrying this team offensively. I'll be here for the defensive end. I'll be here to set up my teammates and make sure they're getting their shots and all that and setting up a guy like Matisse Thybulle. All right, this is Joel Embiid's show tonight. He takes a step back. He doesn't get to the 20-point marker really until late in this game. He just went off as a great teammate last night. Oh, there's not going to be enough ball to go around between him and Embiid. Well, I'll tell you what the Sixers got in this trade. And this is what I've been begging for really since all the rumors started up with Ben Simmons. I wanted somebody to come in here and not be around that Tobias Harris level, which, again, last night took another hit. But I didn't want somebody coming in here and being a guy to just threaten to score 15 to 20 points. I wanted the guy to come in here and threaten to beat Joel Embiid for this team's scoring lead. As much as I didn't think that was going to happen, it happened with James Harden. I wanted somebody at least to be between Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris in terms of how many points they could rack up per night. And that's exactly what James Harden has done here in Philadelphia so far, averaging over 20 points a game. He has been a guy that you could rely on as your consistent scorer right after Joel Embiid. And I have wanted that since the rumors began, and the Sixers finally have that. What I didn't anticipate was a guy coming here, scoring that many points, and then also setting up his teammates to flourish as well as James Harden has done. Now, one of the people I talked about earlier was Matisse Thybulle and how much he helped him. Last night, James Harden, after the game, was asked about helping out Matisse Thybulle and getting him going on the offensive end of the floor, and this is what James Harden had to say.
Like I keep talking about, I try to find ways to help each individual teammate, and Matisse is a great defender. We all know that. He gets his hands on a lot of basketballs. I think it's my job to help him a little bit offensively, just like, he helps us defensively, and, to where he can get some easy baskets. So, he can feel good about himself. And tonight he listens and he go out there and just do. And as a result of that, he gets rewarded baskets.
I mean, James Harden has just been unbelievable. We did not expect any of this when it came to setting up everybody else and making everybody else better, and he has been that tenfold. He has been the opposite of what people in Brooklyn tried to tell you, and maybe the latter stages of his career there in Houston. What he has been there, he has not been here. He has been tenfold better, and quite frankly, the opposite of what people wanted you to believe that he was. Joel Embiid. I mean, we said months ago that it's almost like we're running out of adjectives to describe how great a player he really is. And I am really trying to break it down and manage my expectations for this team. But anything less than an NBA Eastern Conference Finals appearance, anything less than that is an utter huge failure with the talent on this squad right now. If Joel Embiid and James Harden keep this going, then an NBA Finals appearance would be the bottom line. It's either you're the champion of the NBA or you're the runner-up. Anything else is a horrible disappointment. But I see no reason why this team can't keep it going. And the reason that is because every night you see somebody else step up. Last night, hey, Joel Embiid, he responded from a rough night he had in Miami. He obviously got beat up, triple-teamed at times, and he came back in this game with a 40-plus point performance, another 10-rebound performance. But this was vintage Joel Embiid last night. This was just taking it upon himself to not have 2 games in a row where he failed to elevate his team to the point that they needed to be. And you could tell he was exhausted in Miami. You could tell through certain points of this game he was a little tired. I won't say exhausted, but tired. And he was asked after the game about his conditioning. Does he feel like his conditioning is good? Does he feel like he's in shape? Does he feel like he's okay going forward? And his answer, like, you can always judge, like, what's he going to say? Nope, I'm cooked. Right? No, of course he's not going to say that. But you can always tell when he has hit a point, or when any player in any sport has hit a point where, yes, they're feeling it a little bit. So he gets asked the question last night. I believe it was David Murphy of Inquirer.com just asked Joel Embiid. He said, how's your conditioning, basically, is the question. And Joel Embiid said, I'm good. I'm good. That's it. They didn't go off on it, right? He's not holding him up. He's going to continue to push through and continue to work. But it was enough of an answer where he had a little self-doubt in there to know this guy's going to need a break. And I thought, at what better point could you have a Monday game after a back-to-back? You have a Monday game after a day off, obviously, and then you don't play till Thursday. This is the time to kind of have that in flux right now. That's the time to have that happen right now. Give him a little bit more of a break than normal. Thursday night, he comes out against another team that's most likely going to make a run and get to the playoffs, and not just a play-in game with the Brooklyn Nets, but they got a big game obviously coming up against another Eastern Conference team. We'll let you hear from Joel Embiid just a second on that game. Now, with that game comes this little fun thing that we've been kicking around a while. But here's how most people found out about not just the possibility of Ben Simmons being on the floor, but the fact that Ben Simmons will, in fact, be in the Wells Fargo Center for this game come Thursday night. Here is Shams Charania making the announcement.
I'm Shams Charania here with breaking news presented by AT&T 5G. Ben Simmons will not play in Thursday's Nets-Sixers game, but sources tell me the 3-time All-Star is expected to make the return trip to Philadelphia and be on the bench with his team inside Wells Fargo Center. Simmons is working toward making his debut for the Nets as he ramps up after dealing with back soreness, and I'm told there is optimism about a return to action later this month.
I got to say, I really enjoy, and if you didn't see it, Ben Simmons was shooting little like baby jump shots in the gym with the Nets the other day, and the thing went viral. I think it was LaMarcus Aldridge in the foreground, and then in the background, it was Ben Simmons just shooting little jumpers. And what's really adorable is seeing Nets fans be like, oh, he's getting ready. Like, they see the social media posts that we used to look at, and they go, oh, he's getting ready. Look at him. He's going to be shooting. And I'm like, I don't think so. But it's adorable to see him get excited. So here's what we know. Ben Simmons is going to be in the Wells Fargo Center on Thursday night. Here's what we also know. The Nets are a horribly run organization. Good God, y'all. Why are you doing this to him? My point throughout this whole process has been, if you're Ben Simmons or if you're someone with mental health issues, okay, why would you want to go immediately to the place that you just left because for whatever reason, your mental health issues were tied to that city? Oh, and another, like Ben Simmons said in his press conference when he got introduced with the Nets. Oh, it's got nothing to do with the coach. It's got nothing to do with what people said after the game. It's got nothing to do with that. But I just couldn't play in Philly. So there was some tie to Philadelphia. So now you're going to make him sit on the bench and most likely be subject to more personalized chants or verbal attacks from fans that are pretty pissed off at him for quitting on the team and choking in the playoffs. If he plays in the game, generally speaking, what happens is while he's on the floor, boo. Okay, he's been booed before, all right? But if he's just sitting there like a duck on the pond, and that's the only way, there's no introduction, the only way to get to him is, what are you going to do, just boo the bench the entire game? There's going to be more personalized chants directed at Ben Simmons. That would happen if he was in the game, which would probably be more distracted and maybe might miss something here or there. But if he's just going to be a sitting duck right there on the bench, the chants are going to be more like Ben sucks, and other an array of other things. But if he's playing in the game, chances are most of the time he's just going to be booed anytime he touches the ball. The bench, by the way, obviously Ben knows where the bench is in Wells Fargo Center, so I guess that works out for him. But why I asked this question yesterday, because somebody started this. I saw a couple of people kick this around. But should the Sixers do a tribute video to Ben Simmons? And I saw that question posed yesterday, and I thought, like, what are you? That would be a horrible idea, and it'd be a horrible idea for many reasons. One of which would be, I don't want to deal with the pushback from what bothers me isn't so much the national media saying Philadelphia sucks. It's that we like to have this mantra similar to Jason Kelce: no one likes us, we don't care. But yet when somebody doesn't like us, we yell and say how stupid that person is. So it's more so we're tough, and who cares what everybody else says? And then somebody else says you suck, and they're like, blah, 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 blah. We don't just blow it off, right? So imagine this for a second. What do you think the national story is going to be about Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia if they play a tribute video to Ben Simmons returning to the Wells Fargo Center, to the city and the fan base where he apparently had some mental health issues and apparently gave him some mental health issues? What are we gonna look like if they put a video on there and we boo throughout the entire thing? Oh, there's going to be national story and how much we suck. Like, I don't care about the national story. I care about how much people say we don't care, but they actually care. Like, you care. You can't play a video for Ben Simmons. And why, and this is the most important reason why you can't play. Above everything else, this is why you can't play any type of tribute video. And there's no story from the Sixers saying they're planning a video, whatever. This just tends to happen with teams. Obviously, the Flyers are great at it. You play for the Flyers 20 seconds, and they got like an epic, they got a longer video for you than even if you ever, like, than minutes logged, basically, in Flyers uniform. But with Ben Simmons, if you play a video for him, you're telling everybody else on the Sixers, hey, the guy that quit on you, the guy that didn't want to play here for whatever reason, here's his fine tribute video of 1 point against the Boston Celtics, his first time in the playoffs. 1 point against the Boston Celtics. Here's his pass to Matisse Thybulle against the Hawks in Game 7, the biggest game of his career to that point. Yeah, I don't think that guy's I don't think he's getting a tribute video. And by the way, I asked this question last night on social media throughout the old Twitter poll, and I asked, last I checked, it was about 1,200 votes. I simply said, if they did play a tribute video, how would you respond? Boo. No reaction, cheer. Last I checked, it was about 85% not cheering. Let's just say that. It was about 75% boo, and then it was about, I don't know what it was, about 10%, what do you call it? No reaction. Yeah, not a lot of people cheering that. So if you're not going to have something that the vast majority of people are going to cheer. And when I say vast majority, I mean just about everybody. Why would you play it? So I would go ahead and assume that Ben Simmons will not be getting a tribute video at the Wells Fargo Center, nor should he get a tribute video at the Wells Fargo Center coming up on Thursday night. So without Ben playing, and I get why he played, but I still don't understand why the Brooklyn Nets would even have him on the road trip if the road trip ends in Philadelphia and he's not going to be playing. Why would you just have him sitting there on the bench? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. But without him playing, Joel Embiid was asked about, with no context of Ben Simmons, by the way. He was just asked flat out about playing a team like the Brooklyn Nets and what that means to Joel Embiid. And here's how Joel Embiid talked about what Thursday night will mean to the 76ers in this season.
No, it's a regular matchup. On this season series is 2-1, so we need to win this game. It's nothing. It's a regular matchup for me, regular season game. So we just got to come in with the same mindset that we've had, and especially tonight, have better starts than we've been having lately, and really focus on defense. They got a lot of great players, and offensively just do what we did tonight.
There you go. Just bring that out there. Bring that out there. And just the other game, the fact that it's just another game, he says, obviously. But when it comes to an Eastern Conference rival, when it obviously comes to a division rival, when it comes to a team, like he says, is up on you on the season series, you want to make sure you handle your business. The Sixers have to do something. And this is why and we all wanted to see James Harden play against the Heat. The Sixers have to do something over this stretch towards the end of the season here. And it's a tough stretch in the last, 17 games. They have to, as I said yesterday, announce their presence with authority to the rest of the Eastern Conference and really the rest of the NBA. They have to show just how different a team they are with James Harden here in the lineup. That it's just not adding another big name to the lineup or anything like that. But the entire philosophy of the 76ers really changed outside of Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid does his thing. And last night's a perfect example of that. And if you would have told me that James Harden coming to Philadelphia wasn't just going to be the James Harden and Joel Embiid show, I'd say, okay, I'm interested. Let me hear this. If you would have told me that under his tutelage and guidance, Tyrese Maxey would be playing off the chain as he has been over the last couple of weeks, that you would have told me George Niang would be dropping threes for you, Matisse Thybulle would be more aggressive going to the hoop, and you would get better bench play in all of this, I would have been like, well, how is that even possible? Well, it's very simple. James Harden is not the guy that a lot of people tried to sell us on who he was. He is far better than that. And being with the team that he really wants to be with has changed everything for not just him, but it's changed the entire outlook of the 76ers. Yes, you could have games like yesterday where Joel Embiid will go get his, and then James Harden comes out and gets you 16 points and gets 14 assists. Yeah, I think the Sixers are going to be pretty good with that going forward, because it's not just going to be the Harden and Embiid show. It's the Joel Embiid show, and then whoever James Harden deems worthy of making better that particular night. And last night he did it with Tyrese Maxey. And here's the thing. Maxey had about 4 points at halftime. And then he went off again in the second half. And I was thinking to myself, while Maxey was really struggling in that first half, I was thinking, if he's over last night, I think it was 14 and a half. I said, he's going to hit that over simply because James Harden's going to say something to him at halftime. I don't know if he actually did again, but that happened before. So I'm thinking to myself, it's one thing for Doc Rivers to not really, accept one version of Tyrese Maxey in the early going of a game. It's another thing for James Harden to accept it and not go into halftime and be like, so you're going to play today? And see if Tyrese Maxey actually goes out there and starts playing. And in the second half, you saw a much more aggressive Tyrese Maxey again. Now, I don't know if it was just implied because of the conversation previous, or if Tyrese Maxey just took it upon himself to go, all right, it's time for me to carry some of the workload here, especially when Joel Embiid's not going to be in the game. And there was one point in the game where Joel Embiid actually went back to the locker room. Obviously, he was fine and he came back and everything was great. But you're going to get guys like that with Maxey. You're going to get the little kick in the butt moments that they might need. And the objective is to make sure that they don't need those moments anymore. Really only have those brief moments of, yeah, wait, hold on. I am good. I can take it to the hoop myself. I can draw the foul. I can be a threat. I can open up things for my teammates when I'm aggressive. And one of the things I got into earlier in the season was Tyrese Maxey when Joel Embiid was out with COVID earlier in the year. Tyrese Maxey went on a tear over that time because he was the guy that was supposed to be the floor general. He was supposed to be the number one scoring threat, and he was. And he certainly outshined anybody like Tyrese or Matisse Thybulle, Matisse Thybulle, there I go again. Tobias Harris, for instance. But with James Harden, and I said at that time that when Joel Embiid comes back, one of the keys for Tyrese Maxey is going to be realizing he can do all that with Joel Embiid on the floor. Like, he doesn't have to consistently defer to Joel Embiid. And that's one of the things that he tried doing a little bit early when Joel Embiid came back from the COVID list. Yeah, there was a couple of bad turnovers. There were a couple of opportunities there for pick and roll with Joel Embiid, and they didn't really execute it well. Tyrese Maxey had some bad passes. He was forcing things. It wasn't good. The minute he got out of his own head and realized, no, I can take care of this. I can do this. If Joel's not there, don't force it to him. Take it upon yourself. The minute he realized he was good enough to do that, he got to the next level of his game. Now James Harden's here, constantly reminding him, you can take this yourself. You can do this. You're a star NBA player. It's just now a time for everyone else in the league to realize that. But it starts with you, with playing to the highest level of your game. And that's what Tyrese Maxey has done since James Harden has gotten here. It has been great to watch that maturation process. And then to see that go into a guy like Niang, see that go into a guy like, obviously, Matisse Thybulle. It's great. It's great for Niang because you need as much off-the-bench scoring as possible. And it's great for Matisse Thybulle because in your starting five, you want to make sure that he has much of an offensive threat as possible. And how about James Harden after the game, to go back to the cut that I played earlier? How about James Harden after the game saying, well, Matisse helps us so much defensively, I got to help him out offensively to get him going. And you know what? It's one of those things that it's so obvious when you see it. You're like, why didn't I think of this before? We talked a lot about Joel Embiid. If there was one little tweak we can make to his game in terms of him playing with James Harden to make that as good as possible, it would be the pick and roll game. We know he can pick and pop and hit that three. But when it comes to the pick and roll game and exploding towards the basket, sprinting towards the hoop, we rarely ever see that from Joel Embiid. If we can get one or two of those a game from him with James Harden, that's great. Just to let the defense know it's there. That's great. But one of the guys I wish I would have realized going back on and going, oh, why didn't I think of this? Is Matisse Thybulle. Thybulle is athletic enough and offensively crashes the rim enough where he would be great at the pick and roll game. And last night you saw that, especially I want to say it was in the fourth quarter, far beyond the top of the key, but in that area, James Harden brings the ball up. Matisse Thybulle sets a screen between half court and the three-point top of the key, and then cuts right to the basket. James Harden, textbook, bounce pass to Matisse Thybulle, who I have never seen fly like this before, throws it down in the fourth quarter for a slam dunk. And I thought, we've been watching this throughout this entire game. Why this is something that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of this before? We know Joel Embiid should do that once or twice a game, fine. But when it comes to the athleticism of Matisse Thybulle, to get him as more of a threat, you got to incorporate that a lot more. They did it last night, and it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is old school pick and roll offense that, of course, you learn in the youngest levels. And it was executed to perfection by pros last night, by a one-time MVP point guard running for you in James Harden, and a guy on the up-and-coming end of the floor in Matisse Thybulle. And the other thing, he hit another three last night, too. Sixers could be getting another offensive threat in Matisse Thybulle right before our very eyes. In the words of the great Tom McGinnis, get excited, people. Get excited. Get excited. I see a lot of people in the chat today. Look forward to getting to the chat check in just a second. We'll get to you guys in just one second. But let me tell you about the great people at Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. Mike Seibert is a retirement income certified professional. He's a financial advisor for Eagles and Sixers fans only. His firm, Destination Retirement LLC, is a full-service planning firm and a partner of 1847 Financial. Mike helps clients with the accumulation years and distribution years. What's the difference? A lot. Have you figured out how much you'll need per month when you retire? Have you figured out how much your retirement income you would like guaranteed no matter what? Do you want to protect any assets from downside market risk? And do you have a written plan? If you have answers, If you have questions and you need answers, Mike Seibert is the man to see. You have assets over $250,000 or more, Mike will create a written plan to help you offset your retirement expenses free of charge using software from Retirement Analyzer. He usually charges over, about $1,999. So act now. DestinationRetirement.com. People, your plan will show you how you can offset your retirement expenses and also what you could do in a volatile market and help minimize taxes. With over 30 years of experience, Mike is committed to helping Eagles fans and Sixers fans get to and through retirement. You can reach Mike at 484-275-6035. That's 484-275-6035. 484-275-6035 or visit destinationretirement.com. That's destinationretirement.com. Click on Find Out at the top of the page and fill out the questionnaire to see how prepared you are for retirement and to sign up for his newsletter. He'll get back to you and talk about how he can help. Destinationretirement.com. Go Birds, and as always, play the song. How about Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers? IHateStevenSinger.com. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. If you're looking to get engaged, you got somebody's birthday coming up. My mom's birthday is in a couple weeks. You got somebody else special in your life, their birthday? Steven Singer Jewelers. Real diamond earrings. Real diamond stud earrings, tennis bracelets, necklaces. They got everything at Steven Singer Jewelers. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com and peruse all the great inventory. And some of you might be thinking, oh, when it comes to buying a diamond, I don't want that pressure. I don't want to go in there and feel like I got to buy a car or a used car and negotiate. No. Perfect price every single time. You walk in there, you sit down, you relax. All you got to worry about is what you want to buy, not how much you want to spend. That's the beauty of Steven Singer Jewelers. You get treated like your family by somebody who's been in the love business in Philadelphia for over 40 years. Other corner of 8th and Walnut, IHateStevenSinger.com. You get taken care of every day with the perfect price. Things aren't marked way up to intimidate you and make you feel like you're getting some kind of deal. When they're, that'll knock off $100 for you. Hey, you got yourself a deal? No. It's the perfect price every single day. So when you walk in there, you don't have to feel like, oh, is the person next to me getting some kind of deal that I'm not getting? Everybody gets the perfect price at Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, the perfect price every day. IHateStevenSinger.com. We just gave you a locker room report brought to you by Rothman Orthopaedics. We had James Harden, Joel Embiid addressing the fine people. When you have an orthopedic issue, you need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need an exceptionally specialized Rothman Orthopaedics physician. They not only specialize in orthopedics, but each of their physicians only focuses in on one area of the body, which means you can have the confidence to get past the pain and be what you were. Learn more at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com, the official orthopedic partner of your Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers. How about the great people of WinView? WinView, the only game where fans can take on other fans and end the debate once and for all. Who is the biggest sports fan? If you have those friends and family members who think they know everything about sports, play them in a WinView contest and see if they can walk the walk as well as they talk the talk. Break up the monotony of family dinners and get-togethers with a little WinView action. While you're tracking the games, put in a little bet on WinView with a friend or family member to see who knows more about sports. It's not sportsbook. It's not daily fantasy. It's a social gaming app where fans can win real money prizes for making predictions on the games that they love so much. So download the WinView app right now. And how about all the people at PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs, phlsportsnation.com. Before I get into the chat check, because I want to get some people's thoughts on this as well. Here's where I'm at on this Calvin Ridley thing. I don't think this is so much about Calvin Ridley as it is about the future, all right? We don't live in a world anymore where gambling is looked down upon. Like, some people might do that, but whatever. But that's not the general consensus now. It's, you open your phone, even WinView, whatever you bet with. We all look at gambling different, I think, than we ever did. Pete Rose and what he did wouldn't be far egregious as what we're looking at right now if this was the modern world when Pete Rose was playing. The thing that's different is you can't have anyone involved in the game betting on the game. And for me, this isn't about what Calvin Ridley did right now, because he didn't bet against the Falcons. He didn't put his team in peril. He wasn't even playing. This was while he was out. The 5-day period he was betting, it was while he was out for his own mental health issues. And he said he bet $1,500. He doesn't have a gambling problem. That's it. Just $1,500. So people are trying to label him. He's got some big gambling problem. He says that's not the case. What he did wasn't necessarily wrong in its own entity, but what he did was wrong for what it could mean down the line. This wasn't about stopping some evil Calvin Ridley who is menacing and betting on football. This is to prevent any connection between players playing the game, active players in the games, and betting down the line. This isn't about stopping Calvin Ridley now. This is about what's stopping the evolution of this thought process will be in the not too distant future. The minute you have players betting on games is the minute you start thinking, when does this evolve into players maybe tanking games? That's what this is about. It's not just Calvin Ridley right now. It's about how this will evolve. And that's what the NFL has to stop. I think the NFL did the right thing. You had to have a zero tolerance policy on all of this because it directly affects the game, or shortly will directly affect the game. The minute you have somebody active, but if I drop this pass, then, that's not hitting my over and I have my under. So there we go. That's where the NFL is afraid of this going. Where we're at right now is not nearly as much of a problem as to where this could go. So the NFL had to step in with a heavy hammer and say, absolutely not. We're not going down this road. Year suspension. Now people start to get into this in a more moral standpoint. What's worse? The Ray Rice situation from a few years ago, the Ezekiel Elliott situation. What's worse? That or somebody betting on sports? Obviously, domestic violence is worse. In the grand scheme of things, I don't need to stand on a soapbox. I think we all have enough of a clear mind to know what's worse in the grand scheme of things. But the NFL is no longer in the investigation business, at least nearly as much as it was with Ray Rice or Ezekiel Elliott or any other instance that you want to throw out there in the NFL. But when it comes to, in the grand scheme of things, for the sport itself, what affects the integrity of the game, and when I say integrity of the game, I mean what's actually taking place on the football field itself, that's where the NFL says we have to step in here and control what we can control. I think that's awful that you don't take more of a stance like that with worse issues that matter more. For instance, how you treat your partner. That matters more than gambling. But the NFL won't step in as much as they have. During Ben Roethlisberger's issues, during Greg Hardy's issues, I was one of the people that yell about the exempt list. I'm sorry, the commissioner's exempt list. What does that mean? You're naughty, so step aside for a second? We've all seen the pictures with Greg Hardy and what happened with his girlfriend at the time. It's egregious. And for the NFL to, we don't really know what happened. But they have the gambling slips, I guess. They have the computer printout, or not computer print. They have the digital footprints and all that stuff of everything Calvin Ridley did. I think it's more of an apples and oranges thing because the NFL is looking at gambling as something that directly affects their game, winning and losing. They won't look at it as they should when it comes to domestic violence issues. And that's something the NFL got way wrong, most recently with Ezekiel Elliott. The NFL, if you remember, after Ray Rice, they hired a female investigator to head up domestic violence issues. That female went to interview Ezekiel Elliott. After that interview, that woman went back to the NFL and she said, I don't think the woman's credible. And the NFL went, nah. And they still looked at Ezekiel Elliott and handled it the way they thought they should. You know what women really love? Being ignored, especially if you put them in a place of power and then blow them off. That's what the NFL did. Then I remember speaking to Adam Schefter about this a few years ago, and he said the NFL has decided to get out of the investigation business. And that's good in a way because they're not equipped to investigate. But if the NFL is going to have zero tolerance policies, why does it have to be about one thing? Why can't it be, just betting on games? I understand how that affects the integrity of the game and whether or not people betting on the game feel like they're being messed with or not, because you don't want to mess with that gambling money now. We all know that. A lot of money's going into it. But when it comes to other zero tolerance policies, how about just being an overall good person? If you want to suspend people for overall integrity of the game and the integrity of the shield, as Roger Goodell likes to say so many times over again, why does it just have to be about one thing? Why can't it be about overall just being a decent human being? Zero tolerance doesn't have to be about one thing. And that's what I think the NFL needs to realize. And I think that's what other people are saying at the same time. But the NFL right now is taking the stance that this has happened within our sport. It affects everything that happens on the field itself. So going forward, they want to make sure that this doesn't evolve into people betting on games that they're actually involved in. When it comes to suspending people for off the field domestic violence issues, that's something the NFL I don't see them ever getting right. As much of a shame as that is. Talk about $1 billion going into this industry, billions upon billions of dollars, and they just can't get that right. And it's the most obvious thing. That's the sport we're watching, folks. That's the sport we're watching. I wanted to make sure I got the Calvin Ridley thing in there to open it up for anybody that wanted to get into that while we were in our chat check there. So let's get into our chat check and see what all the good people in Philadelphia have to say about the 76ers team, Calvin Ridley, and all that fun stuff, and what you guys plan on doing on Thursday. What do we got here? April. April's leading it off for us. Good morning, April. Dan, what's going on? Sean, what's popping? Dan, I keep on telling people, yeah, we'll get him back on. Kevin, hello again. Mally, Kyle, good morning. Fuji, what's going on? Fuji, I'll be talking to Fuji and his Broad Street South people later tonight for their podcast. Look forward to talking to you and Angel tonight, Fuji. Appreciate you guys. April, oh, that's very nice. Thank you. Greg, what's going on? Nice to have you in here. Yes, 2001 subscribers, Fuji. Thank you. Shiloh, what's going on, Shiloh? Nice to have you on. Oh, Mullet. I caught that last night. It was great. Flyable. The Kate Scott's call of the Matisse Thybulle dunk after the top of the key pick and roll with Harden to Thybulle was on point. Perfect. I looked at it, and every once in a while you'll watch a player that you've seen 100 games, whatever, and they do something you haven't seen him do before. I knew Matisse Thybulle was an athlete. I just didn't know he was that much of an athlete. He took off. The way the camera angle got the shot was as if he flew from the foul line to the hoop. That's what it looked like. And I have not seen Matisse Thybulle fly like that since he's been a member of the 76ers. And last night, Kate Scott was all over it. Flyable with the slam dunk. It was great. It was absolutely great. John Cheeseborough, what's up, my friend? Let's see here. Farzian Society, what's going on there, John? Play the song for 2,000 subscribers. Thank you, John. Let's see. I was about to ask if Sealski touched buttons because I could barely hear the Harden clip. Oh, damn it. That's on me. Scoozy. How is Embiid not the MVP this year, especially after he got jammed last year? Yeah, and they gave it to Jokic. I'll tell you, I think national media look at their stats and they see similar points per game, they see similar rebounds, and then they see the assists from Joker, and they go, oh, well, he makes everybody else better too, so it's Joker. Embiid has been the backbone of this team, people. And now if James Harden's here and he's still getting 40-point nights, that shows you how he's still very much the backbone of this team. It's not like Joel Embiid's here with James Harden, and now Joel Embiid's only averaging 25 points per game. That ain't happening. So for me, yeah, I think he's the MVP. But I just think, knowing the way a lot of these national guys think, they would rather go with a back-to-back MVP and Joker because of the assists more so than anything else. We riot if he doesn't get the MVP. I'm with you there. Alyssa, what's up, Alyssa? Hannah, what's going on, Hannah? How are you? Oh, this is a hell of it. Yeah, Daniel Van Hocht. What's going on? Oh, you're from Coatesville. What's up, Coatesville? Oh, you'd like to have Broads? I'll have Broads on again. Broads is the man. I love Broads. Dan Schwartz with a very famous shout out to Mike Tyson. I broke my back. My back is broken. Which part? Spinal. Mike Tyson and Ben Simmons. You know, Jim Gray was the guy doing that interview, if I'm not mistaken. And Jim Gray is one of those guys that I thought was a terrible announcer, and I hated him, and the whole asking Pete Rose about admitting he was gambling or he was on the field at the 1999 All-Star game, I want to say it was. And then I want to say it was Shane Spencer that hit a home run for the Yankees and then wouldn't talk to Jim Gray afterwards. Like, that was weird. But then I met Jim Gray, and he was like super nice. And I'm like, oh, damn it. That was like one of those things. Anyway, that's my Jim Gray story. Ben needs the baby b-ball hoop that Nick Sirianni had at the combine. April, fine point. That would help Ben's confidence, I feel. That would help Ben's confidence. The official 76ers correspondent, Alyssa, you're damn right. John, you're absolutely right. Daniel, I was at the game last night when they announced the other team. We said sucks for everybody. Yeah, Daniel, that's not new. We've done that for a while, brother. Hello, April. Hello, Alyssa. Hello, Eric. Good morning, Eric. I think a lot of people have recommendations if the Sixers do, in fact, have a Ben Simmons tribute video. Just him passing up on shots. DVH for future reference. Daniel Von Hocht. That's a solid. I used to be jealous of the people with the Von and the middle name was that Dutch. That's Dutch, right? That's just cool. Or even Van, like Dick Van Dyke, right? Like, I just think that was cool. My family was really into The Sound of Music when I was a kid. I hate that movie. movie. I'll tell you why I hate it. I'll tell you why I hate it. I hate it because when I was a kid and we were in my grandmother's basement, my cousins and I all having a great time. If we were too noisy after multiple warnings, we'd have to come up and watch a movie on Laserdisc. Laserdisc predates me, okay? But my grandmother's house had these Laserdiscs, and we had to watch a movie. And the movie was either Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was number one favorite movie. And then the other movie was Sound of Music. So it was like I had to watch this long, boring sing-along or Indiana Jones. And often, I think to mess with us, she would play Sound of Music more than anything. So the Von Trapp family is how I made that connection in my Family Guy brain. Sorry, I don't pay attention to anything, not even myself. John Cheesebro, Ray Rice issue, Greg Hardy issue. Hell, Adrian Peterson got more than Rice for what some called child abuse. I would call it child abuse. I think hitting your kid with an object isn't a good thing. NFL always lacked integrity about potentially losing money. Oh, yeah, no, it's potentially losing money. Absolutely. Torian, I completely agree. Green Mark, the NFL had to have seen this as the possibility and an attempt to be out in front of the potential issue. Yeah, John, you and I are on the same page. This isn't about now. This is about what this could progress into. It's not about now. It's about the evolution of this with players betting on the sport. And that directly affects what the NFL does. It directly affects football. So that's something well within the jurisdiction of the NFL. Things that happen at home are not well within the jurisdiction of the NFL. That's why the NFL has to go out and go through so many independent investigators and conduct long investigations. All this. This thing with Calvin Ridley was like a 5-day period of him gambling. They have obvious evidence of it happening. And there you go. Well, it's like, well, Ray Rice, he had a video. It's like, yeah, but that's not Ray Rice on the field. So it only affects how we look. It doesn't affect how the game's played. That's how the NFL is looking at it. NFL's always lacked the integrity. Torian, I agree. Shake my head. Pathetic, terrible. Preach. Thank you, Phil. The good old NFL. It's about the bottom line. April, you're exactly right. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? Speaking of this, and I do want to address this. Rick, he asked if Brett Myers could be on every day. And look, I even saw one or two comments on it in the chat. Obviously, Brett Myers had his own domestic violence issue. And that happened while I was pitching with the Phillies, obviously, when they were in Boston. And I did not ask Brett Myers about it for a few specific reasons. One, there wasn't an issue recently, like for instance, if Odubel Herrera's issue happened, and I know Brett Myers did an interview right around that same time, and the interview did not ask him about his own domestic violence issue. I thought that was an error by the interviewer. If Odubel Herrera happened, just as an example, 2 days before I had Brett Myers on, I would have, you bet your ass, I would have asked Brett Myers about it. That not happening. And then also the fact that Brett Myers has, I believe, 2 boys that are old enough to read the internet. I didn't feel like it was good of me and responsible of me as a human to bring it up and then have his kids read about probably his worst day and the worst act he had done in his marriage. I didn't feel like I wanted his kids to read that story. The story that did get picked up with him was the story about the police helping them get beer after the World Series, after they won the World Series, which was funny. But I just didn't. I felt like I would have been grandstanding and reaching for a story if I would have brought that up with him. I didn't feel like it would have been responsible of me to bring it up. We all know what happened. We went to court. They went to court over it. I believe she ended up dropping the charges. And I didn't feel like it would have been responsible of me to bring it up when the guy still has a family and is still married to his wife. So I felt like I would have been grandstanding if I just would have brought it up out of nowhere. So I didn't feel like it was appropriate. It's just to address that for people that didn't have that question. Ray, always love your comments. But Rick, I appreciate your comments on the show yesterday. Ray, is Tobias having a tough time being option number 4? You can see Harden's trying to get him involved. Seems like he's on the opposite side of the court when they bring the ball down all the time. Ray, here's what I've noticed with Tobias Harris. He's going back to not finishing. Like earlier in the season, really with the exception of January, he had a good month. He got booed and then started playing better, averaged about 20 points a game. He's not finishing around the rim. And that last night, he makes the good move, gets to the rim, and then isn't finishing. And it's it's very similar to Ben Simmons making the move, getting to the rim, not hitting the layup, not finishing around the rim, getting fouled, going to the line, missing the free throws. Tobias Harris needs to be more of a role of a George Niang. And I hate that comparison because one is a max contract player. The other is obviously not. But when you look at Tobias Harris, just hit those outside shots, man. And if you're going to go into the lane, you got to hit your layups. You're not taking advantage of the opportunities. Yes, James Harden even said last night, he was looking at the stat sheet, and he goes, Tobias Harris, he struggled tonight. But defensively, defensively, he was great on DeMar DeRozan. Okay. Everything else on the offensive side of things is why he's making the money he's making. I don't see him passing Tyrese Maxey this year for the third scorer on this team. I don't see him doing that. And that's with the James Harden era. But right now, you need him to just be consistent in a limited role. He's going to be underperforming his contract. We all know that. Let's acknowledge that. But right now, you're not going to win a championship by talking about dollars and cents. You're going to win a championship by talking about production and what you can get out of Tobias Harris. Give me good defense. Give me rebounds. Give me a consistent three-point shot. That's all I'm asking for. Everything else, just step aside. Get out of the way. And if you're going to dribble, you better finish. And that's what I want to see from Tobias. Tobias Harris actually had a play yesterday, or not yesterday, in the Heat game, where he reminded me of Evan Turner. He brought the ball up, dribbled by himself for about 10 seconds, and then missed a layup. That to me just can't happen. It cannot happen. Especially in nights when you feel like you got to force it when you don't have a guy like James Harden out there. But I'm with you, Ray. We all are as far as the Tobias Harris goes. Ray's the best commentator. You're right. Steve Miller Band. What? Torian, if Joker gets MVP again, he loses all credibility. The award does. I agree. T-Bro, Farzy, you can't compare Sound of Music to Indiana Jones and hate it because of that. Well, see, here's why I can. It's because of my wonderful grandmother. She would do it to us. There would be the excitement of, we got to be quiet. We got to go upstairs because we're making too much noise in the basement, but at least we get to watch Indiana Jones. Joke's on you. It's not Indiana Jones. It's Sound of Music. You lose. Awful disappointment for 7-year-old Marc Farzetta coming up from his grandmother's basement in Dundalk, Maryland, which if you haven't been to Dundalk, oh my God, tropical. And then you have Sound of Music. So I got to watch these people. The hills are alive with the Sound of Music and with Julie Andrews doing the twirl in the mountains. No, thanks, man. No, thanks. Any chance Rager and J-Jaw gambled on games? Jim, that was one of my favorite comments on social media yesterday. the idea of people being like, hey, I think I saw Jalen Reagor hand somebody. Who is it? Alan Ivermectin, I think, tweeted out Fancets09. I think I saw Jalen Reagor. Jalen Reagor handed me a wad of cash and just said Colts over. You know what I mean? That's pretty funny. Tobias has been demoted to offensive Matisse Thybulle. Jeff Tezos, that's a great name. Is it time for LBJ to pass the torch? Ja, Giannis, Zion, LaMelo, Lonzo, Middleton. What are we passing the torch for? I don't know. Best player in the league? Maybe that should go to a guy named Joel Embiid. Yes, Jeff Toby did play good defense. I do not disagree with that. But would like him to finish at the rim. That would help out a lot. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Yeah, John, that is an interesting thing. $15,000 to bet, $11 million for your season salary. Gone. Not good. Not good. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, I don't want to jinx anything, folks. But George Niang's supposed to be a guest tomorrow. Supposed to interview George Niang today to air for tomorrow. I will tweet out later today confirmation of that happening. But our booker, Jason, has been all over this, ladies and gentlemen. Got us Brett Myers. He's lining up George Niang. So I'm going to make sure that I'll let you guys know if we actually have that out and about. So we'll have ourselves a good time with that. That was our chat check, ladies and gentlemen, as we like to do every day with all you fine people giving us your takes on everything going on in the world. Also, I want to make sure I give you guys – I didn't write this down. I thought I wrote it down. What an idiot. I want to make sure I give you guys Sixers. Obviously, they tip off Thursday. LeBron James is too old. Time for him to pass the torch. He would rather watch the league burn to pieces instead of passing the torch. I don't think you're wrong. Flyers back on the ice tonight, going for 2 wins in a row. One more, that's a winning streak. They tip off at 7 o'clock tonight in South Philadelphia against the Golden Knights. We'll see how that game turns out for the Flyers. Hopefully they can win 2 in a row. And then the Sixers tip off with the Brooklyn Nets. 7:30 tip off on Thursday night. Ben Simmons set to be on the bench for that game. That's our Morning Rush segment brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully we have the minivan on with us tomorrow to talk all things Sixers and James Harden's impact here in Philadelphia. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is the Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement, DestinationRetirement.com. John Cheeseborough picked it up. Lou Brown, you're damn right, for Major League. I wish that would have been an option with Indiana Jones, Sound of Music, Major League. This is the Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement, DestinationRetirement.com from the Steven Singer Studios. I'm Marc Farzetta. For Jim Hyden, who produced the show, did a wonderful job. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.